All right, guys. Well, I did it again today, second day in a row, or probably third day. I went live and on the wrong stream. This is killing me. I got to break this habit. So anyway, okay, let me just go over everything I just spent like 15 minutes explaining. Essentially, what we're looking at today is yesterday we couldn't get back up into the balancing area. We tried and tried as hard as we could, but we built up most of our volume in this area. And so that leads me to believe that the market didn't get enough of a pullback. So at the end of the day yesterday, I was saying we needed to come down and visit this 20 moving average. Now we ended up doing that in the overnight. And inevitably, there were longer term, bigger hands players that had some orders layered in here and did some buying in this. So that could potentially be the bounce right there, but I don't think so. Okay. The thing that's going to have to convince me that that was a good bounce and that we're ready to push higher is we have to get back up into the balancing area from yesterday. Okay, we have to get back up into this area and find some support in here. So the market has to push above the balancing area high and then come back down and find support here. And then we're looking for continuation to the upside. Okay. On the premise that the buyers that stepped in at that 20 moving average overnight last night were longer term, stronger hands traders. The reason I don't love it is because they don't buy exactly on the 20. They layer their way in, right? So the fact that it wasn't able to get below it at all is a little bit shady to me that it was short-term traders that did the buying there. So I'm not quite bullish, but now we're back up in the balancing area. So if we can stay up in this balancing area, okay, from here, when we pull back down, so when we pull back down into this node of volume, we find support here, that would be bullish for continuation higher. But if we look, if we look above again and fail, so we look into the range and fail and start to pull back down into here, that would start to get me bearish. If we got below this week J period low, pulled back up and found resistance, that would be a good short trade for continuation to the downside. Okay. So actually it's pretty pivotal what the market does right here. When it pulls back down, does it find support in this area right around the upper level of this node of volume? Or does it pull back down into the range from yesterday, the value area from yesterday? Okay, internals opened a little bearish and they started pushing higher right away. We'll give them some time to kind of settle in. Overnight inventory was net short, so we expected some counter auction to that short, to the upside. We're just burning off those trades now. So once again, let's see what happens when the market pulls back down towards this 45.12 level. Do we find support in here? All right. Good morning, Rad. Good to see you. MK, good morning. Rad says it's very interesting to see the market, the overnight market, bounce off that 20. I don't find it interesting at all. I find it extremely predictable. But the question is, did enough of the big players get to buy there? Of course, they would have had limit orders just waiting for the market to get down there. So they didn't necessarily have to be awake and trading. But the exactness of that, man, the fact that it came to a tick exactly to that level, I feel like the regular trading hours have to go down there and test it. So let's wait and see. All right. Internals getting bullish here. Good morning, RK Leon. Thank you for smashing that like button. Appreciate you. RK, good morning to you. Biden posting a 6-step COVID plan. The market probably won't care. I would say COVID's about as baked into this market as it can be. RK, some of the best trades seem to be midnight Pacific time if you've got nuts. I would be very weary referring to it based on time of day. Those type of things. It may work out for a few days in a row or whatever, but then you really can't base it on time of day. But that's just my opinion. Good morning, Amir. Good morning, Pavel. Good morning, Trading Donkey. Partha, good to see you. Mark is back with us. Note the 100% net short overnight activity. For Mark, it's a good observation. We expect a counter auction. Now, Charles, shouldn't we be long? Look at how much this market is pushing higher. No, sir. It's FOMO. It's people getting too excited too early. Market's got to pull back down into here and build some real support. This is just that early AM FOMO giving it a push. It's making value overlapping to higher, which is bullish. Value overlapping to higher means that we have increased odds of either rotation or a push higher, but it decreases the odds of a pullback. They're starting to bring in some volume at yesterday's high. Let's see if they can keep it above the 0 line. Good morning, Fausto. Good to see you, brother. Welcome. Incorrect. No, I've done this now twice in a row where I, like in Streamlabs, I forget to start the live stream that's like pre-set up, and it just starts a new one. And of course, it's to the private settings. So I keep making that mistake. I got to stop doing that. Ronald, good morning to you. My Eastern European friend, long or short? Right now, at this moment, neither. I wouldn't go long or short, but this is bullish. So if they pull back down and find some support in here, I would go long. The thing that's really jumping out at me at this moment is this level right here with only 282 contracts. That often needs to backfill. It's also right at the upper end of this node of volume from yesterday where we would want to find support. Internal's looking good. Well, Charles, shouldn't I just FOMO right now? It seems like they're getting support at yesterday's high, which is a great place. It's an obvious visual level, right? They're creating some support there. Shouldn't I just go long? What if this thing takes off like a rocket ship? No, man. Take it easy. Relax. If we pull back down into here and we find some support and we can stay inside the balancing area, it increases the odds significantly that we're going to rotate up to the opposite end of the balance over the next day or two, right? Up to there. So there's lots of room to make money. No reason to FOMO in right here. Okay? Wait for that pullback and the support in here. I also wouldn't choose to short it for the pullback just because we clearly do have momentum to the upside. So it's not, obviously it's not a trend yet, but I don't want to fight that momentum. I'd rather go with it once I get a good entry. Trading Donkey mentioning that we got into a big throwdown over how to view overnight inventory. I would still view this as net short, right? Because we opened here and we closed at a lower price. So yeah, it's definitely still net short. Sebastian, good morning to you. RK reminding everybody the contract rolls over tomorrow. Mañana. Shubho Deep, good morning to you. Gianfranco, good morning. Jason. What'd you call, brother? Ricky Bobby, good morning to you. Jose, good to see you. And Tom, back with us. All right, guys. Well, this is looking like it was support. Let's see if they got those ticks back above zero. Ooh, not quite. So at this point, I would consider going long and just using my stops as a way to protect myself. So tight stops on a long trade. But that was their chance right there to pull back down, and they didn't do it. They brought in support right here at that node of volume. So that's bullish to see. As soon as those ticks are back above the zero line, we know there's more buyers stepping in here. Shubaho Deep, do I use contract of September? Yeah, right now I'm on the September contract. I will probably wait until Friday to roll over. Just because usually that first day, the volume's a little bit lower. But as I've talked about on this channel before, the way I feel about it, it doesn't matter when you roll over. It only matters that you're looking at whatever chart you're trading. So if your market profile software is on the September, you should be trading September and vice versa. Just make sure you're looking at whatever chart you're trading, and it doesn't really matter. Okay, so does this hold as support again? Couldn't get those ticks up. TV, good morning to you. River Rock, how's Astoria treating me? It's great, man. No complaints. It's a nice little neighborhood. There's tons to do. There's tons of great food and places to go out drinking, but it's not quite like Manhattan where it's crazy. So it works for me so far. Shubo deep by the end of the day. We should be singing Who Let the Bulls Out. It's all about weak hands and strong hands, right? The buyers who step in at that at that 20 moving average are stronger hands buyers. So they kind of give the market the oomph they need to push up. You can see it happen over and over again. Boom. Boom. That one failed. Boom. And at this point, it's really about this balancing area, right? We've been stuck in this balancing area now for like a week. So now that we're back up in it, we increase the odds of rotating to the opposite end. Fausto, damn, no chance to get long. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, you could go long here just with a tight stop in case they have to pull lower. But we have multiple times pulled into this range of volume and found support. So as soon as those ticks get above the zero line, we're ready to push higher. Martin, glad you're in Europe. We're able to enter that overnight 20. Yeah, I mean, if I was awake and watching, I would have taken that trade for sure. Good morning, Nav Trader. Welcome. Malcolm, morning. Going to be an interesting day. Sure has started as one, hasn't it? Nicholas, I'm trapped in 8 puts, down 800 from yesterday. Oh, bummer, bro. Well, what's your stop? In your mind, what level does the market get to where you give up and say it's not going to pull back down? To my mind, that would be getting back up into the balancing area and staying in here, right? If we get up above this balance area low and then we stay in this range, which was what we're doing right now, that is a sign of yesterday or of the sell-off that we've had, the recent sell-off being over, of that 20 bringing in enough strong buyers to push us back up to the high. That's the signal the market is giving us so far this morning. So before you buy those puts, know where you would say enough is enough. I'm out. Marco, I would say it's just a counter auction because of the FOMO to buy. But day is still young. I am thinking about shorting around the prior's day high with a tight stop loss. Okay, so he's thinking about shorting this for the pullback. The only thing that I would say here is the momentum, right? It's all about the ticks. If they can get the ticks above the zero line and keep going, they can keep pushing the market higher. And it could just be FOMO. It could just be those that are trained for the V-shaped recovery that are used to seeing the market turn the other direction and trade straight up. But those momentum traders, as Jim Dalton will say, they will shock you with how far they can push the market. They'll just buy every dip and keep it going all day. Rob, good morning, FOMO traders. There you go. Can I pull up SPY? I don't think so. Oh, snap, I can. Of course, I'll have to go in and program it to get it all set up to look like mine. Actually. Window Trader just did an update yesterday. If you guys are wondering why it looks different, I haven't watched the webinar yet to see what all they did, but anyway, I'll come back to this. Sab, hello from France. Bonjour. Arthur, good morning to you. Mark's gone short at 20. Where's your stop, Mark? Where do you give up on the trade? Internals are trending higher. You're fighting the FOMO. Mark, overnight inventory looks adjusted. Break to follow. Well, that's what I'm saying is the ticks are telling us no. The ticks are telling us that more buyers are stepping in. And if they've been buying this dip, what would stop them if the market pulled back down into here? What would stop them from buying this dip? Right? So even if we do get a pullback down into this range, it would still be bullish as long as we stay above that balance area low. Sebastian, you like my one word in French? Bonjour. I can't do any more than that. Martin, trading with contract nodes makes it so much easier. I'm not sure what you mean. Mark is thinking back to 16. Let's see. Do they buy the dip? So what you have to understand about these like super short term, trend traders, these what you would call like a FOMO trader or a stonks trader or whatever, is that they don't overthink things. If the buying was happening here before, that's where they buy again. So as long as those ticks remain above the zero line, now they're creeping back down. But as long as they stay above that zero line, there are still buyers stepping in. Partha, I never give up my trades. No. Don't fall in love. Give up on them as soon as they're wrong. Who cares? There'll be another trade along shortly and you can make the money back. Shuba Hodip, if we take out the day before yesterday's high, would the gap fill? I don't know what gap you're talking about. Oh, I don't consider this a gap. I completely ignore Monday's trade. So I see the trading from the 7th having opened inside the previous day's range. So I don't see that as a gap. But the target becomes the balance area high. As long as they stay above the balance area low, the target is always the balance area high, because that's what the market does when it's balancing. It just jumps up and down between this level over and over until it's ready to break out one way or the other. It broke out to the downside, right, 2 days ago, and then we traded all the way down to that 20 moving average. So that should have brought in the support for it to now take another attempt at getting to the higher end of balance. But it doesn't have to do it today. That's where it gets tricky. We could just rotate around here today. All right, with the printing of the B period, we pulled the POC up here and pulled the value area a little bit higher. Still overlapping, but that's slightly bullish to see. I'm going to put myself to neutral right now. I'm not quite ready to believe we're going to push higher just yet. And I don't really have any market generated information for it. It doesn't feel like it's ready. It feels like it needs to pull back down a little bit and bring in the buyers in here somewhere. But if we start one time framing higher, I'll get bullish with that. This is one of those spidey sense things. I don't have any specific information telling me we need a bigger pullback. I just feel it. Yeah, Marco, my only counter argument to that is, we may not get a chance. The price might not come back down here to prove itself. It may just keep going because of those momentum traders. Look at them. More and more stepping in. Gimme. Give me my stonks. Well, anywhere in here could find support. But I would say probably around this node of volume where the POC from the overnight a couple nights ago is. Maybe half back, somewhere in here, around 16. But it looks like they're going to start one time framing. It looks like those momentum traders are definitely taking control. Shubaho Deep, I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, it doesn't matter what market you're trading. All financial markets move the same way. They're all based on human psychology. Even the real estate market, like everything moves the same. Marco, then I would buy there at yesterday's high because when B holds the day's high, I would call it as acceptance by the market. We need to go higher, right? So I don't specifically look at like the B period being above the previous day or anything like that, but this is like a very easy level to see. Everyone, no matter what charts they use, no matter how they look at the market, they all recognize the previous day's high. Okay. So that's a really obvious level. And the fact that we had like 3 or 4 dips into this level and they keep buying it, that tells me who the traders are that are doing the buying here, right? That's the short-term retail, FOMO, you call them whatever you want to call them. That's those traders, the stonks only go up traders. My point is they can shock you how long they can keep doing this. And with the fact that we're in a balancing area and the target becomes the upper end of balance, to me, it seems very safe to go long here with a tight stop, right? Go long, stay with a tight stop so you don't lose that much if it does reverse and pull down. But just assume that these traders, as long as there's more buyers than sellers, which is what the ticks are telling us, ticks trending higher and above zero, there are more buyers than sellers, they'll keep pushing it. That's the assumption that I make. Mark, that's a great observation. So the question becomes, if your system gave you a signal, how do you adjust the system so next time you won't get that signal? Because as I said earlier, when I was neutral, I said none of the market generated information is telling me the market needs to pull back. It was just a spidey sense. It was just a feeling like it needed to. But all the market generated information this morning is saying that the FOMO buyers are in charge. The momentum buyers, as Jim Dalton would call them, are in charge. The momentum is to the upside, so they'll just keep buying dips. So how do you adjust your system so that you can recognize that when it's the case? Tism is twosms. Looks like a trend day. This is how it would start. It would start with value pulling completely above yesterday's value. Okay, remember, overlapping to higher value means either rotation or a push higher, but higher value increases the odds of a trend day higher. You're also in the middle of a balancing area, which increases the odds of a rotation to the upper end of balance. And you got the super strong internals. So all of those are signals of a potential trend day. Of course, let's wait till the C period to get the confirmation, but I think you might be right. Shubo, I don't know. You're getting too complex for me. Opening drive, opening test drive, failed, reject. I don't know. I just know that the FOMO pushed the market up and then more traders stepped in and bought the dip. That's what I know. Call it what you want to call it. Yeah, I'm honestly not sure what you mean by those terms. Opening test drive. Do you mean like on the days where the market opens and it trends one direction till the B period, then it reverses the other? Odd stuff from trading in the, or not trading zone, from markets in profile. Yeah, I don't recall that. Great question, Sebastian. No. So the 2 ticks equals excess. That is just for the ES. Any other market, you would have to observe it yourself and figure out what is excess. So the question basically becomes like, so let's say we keep trending today. If the market that you trade gets 4 ticks below the previous time period, but then it keeps trending higher after that, maybe yours is 4 ticks instead of 2, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, the 2 ticks is just the ES. Mind over markets. Yeah, the thing about the books is Jim Dalton has changed a lot of the stuff from back then. I've actually got a blog on it that lists some of that. Because I read his books first, like a long time before I took his course. Let's give that a second to load. Yeah, and then when I took his course, he mentioned all of these things from his books that he no longer uses anymore. Right? So initial balance, 80% rule, range extension, opening types, there you go, right there. So that's one of the things he doesn't teach anymore, he doesn't look at anymore. So I just never pay attention to it. I'm building off of what his class taught me when I took it last year. Let's jump over and take a look at the NQ. Okay, they got a poor high on the NQ, increasing the odds that this is the push away, but that the market will come back and revisit it at some point. And it looks like they don't quite have the same FOMO. They're looking for better support here. Their overnight trade was much more bullish than ours, though, or much more bullish than the ES. They stayed inside yesterday's range, which is really just a larger balancing area. You know, like the ES broke its balancing area and then it traded down to that 20. Really, the NQ here is just making a much larger balancing area. Whoops, Jesus. So you could almost see that trade yesterday as just a look below and fail, or maybe even if you made that the balance area low right there, right to the balance area low, and now the rotation to the opposite end of balance. Okay, that weak reference from a couple days ago is repaired. So now do they keep buying this dip? Remember, with a trend day, the way the volume works, it's not a bell-shaped curve. It's little nodes. So it like pushes higher, makes a node, pushes higher, makes a node, pushes higher, makes a node. So that's our first one there. Are we going to push higher and then make another node here? Is this where they buy the dip? If so, it looks like a trend day. You've never heard it seems they don't have the same FOMO. Yeah, that's just referring to the behavior of how the market is moving. The people who've been trading the NQ over the last few weeks have been stronger. They've been less fearful. And so the switch flicking the other way is less intense as well, less FOMO-y. C period pullback. I don't know. It seems like they're setting themselves up for a strong C period, right? So now that they're back down into the A period, we won't have any single prints. So as long as the C period, when it prints in 10 minutes, stays above this B period low, the trend remains intact. Also keeping an eye on those ticks. As long as they stay above that zero line, the trend remains intact. What do you mean the trend stays intact, Charles? What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense to me. Well, there's two different psychological perspectives the market can be in. One is a trend day where it continues to either push higher or push lower if it's a trend down. And then the other is a rotational day where the market is just jumping around because it doesn't know where it wants to go. So right now, this is a trend day. It's the way it feels. If they can keep that C period low above the B period low, it means psychologically they're still buying dips. They still see the market to push higher. If they get below that C period low, it means they're uncertain and the market needs to bounce around for a while and rotate. So let's see what happens when that C period prints in 8 minutes. Support on the NQ. Yeah, there's a lot. Like I said, you're in the middle of a balancing area. So there's a million references I could point out. You got this node of volume from a couple days ago. So you're looking at like 15,630. Which is right about the opening price as well. And then any of these nodes of volume from yesterday. I would say that opening price. That's probably the key thing to watch today. On the Q. Still got that poor high. Don't forget, a poor high is like a magnet all day kind of tugging at price to try to come back up there and repair it. Nav Trader, why is it a poor high on the Q? It's because it's one tick from the A period high. It's actually probably more than one tick. I have this in 2 tick increments. But on my chart, the way I look at it, it's poor. Basically, that just means they were piling on the selling right there. The sellers, because they were piling on right at the high from the A period, they're probably weaker hand sellers. So they're going to take profits somewhere in here. They're not going to hold all day for a further pullback. And so when they take profit, the market runs out of sellers, and then it goes right back up. Come on. Boy, this is like too much for my computer to have 4 charts open at once. Okay, so that is the SPY right there. And then let's switch over to the ES and we'll compare what it looks like structurally. There we go. Okay. So SPY, ES. Yeah, they look very similar. The balancing areas are a little bit different. Like we're clearly up in, almost halfway up into the balancing area on the ES, whereas in the SPY, it looks like we're at the lower end of it. But basically, they're structurally the same. Donkey, if you're a one-time framing aficionado, if you're an aficionado of the one-time framing caliber, opportunities are presenting themselves. I would say actually in that pullback was a better chance to go long in here. Because now if the C period prints, we're going to leave these single prints behind, which will likely need to be backfilled. All right, well, there's the printing of the C period. So we do have these single prints that we've left behind, increasing the odds the market will need to trade back down to backfill them. But as long as that C period low stays above 49.1925, the trend remains intact. Value is clearly higher. So this to me is a bullish day for a potential trend, even all the way, as crazy as it seems, even all the way up to the opposite end of balance, which is 45.44. That would not be unreasonable. Okay, the one-time framing confirmed there, making the new high. It's a bull market, you know. Shubha Hodeep, was that the accent of the language they speak in the UK, the British accent? Jolly good old boy. Ah, let's have some tea and crumpets. I apologize to all my UK listeners. All right, guys. Well, with that, I'm going to bid you all farewell. I'm going to head on over to that private stream for the members of the Brigade. If you haven't joined yet, it's only $10. And as I said yesterday, I'm sure within a month's time frame, I can give you a single trade idea that'll make you $10 or save you from losing 10 in a bad trade. So it seems like a fair proposition to me. If you are a member of the Brigade, remember, wait a good 5-10 minutes before you head to the website and click that link. Just makes it easier for me to get it updated without getting too much bandwidth used up by people refreshing the page over and over. So just give me about 5-10 minutes and then head on over, and that stream should be up and running. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you here tomorrow morning.